trauma can have long-lasting effects. We're talking well into adulthood.
But tonight, we introduce you to one man who decided to overcome what he'd been through.
In this To America story, KSHB 41 News reporter Leslie Delisbour explains the intersection between trauma, mental health, and growing up in the Black community.
It's part one of our three-part series, and we need to warn you that some of the details in this story may be pretty hard to hear.
Growing up in Alabama was not easy for Marquan Gordon.
Growing up as a Black kid, especially in the South, you talk the whole things in, take it on the chin, get back up, keep going, don't matter what, keep going.
His appearance, he said, made him seem weak and easy to take advantage of, having to prove he was tougher than most. Even within his own family, Marquan was victimized.
At the time, emotionally abused, physically abused, just mentally having to go through that as a kid, and being molested and, raped as a kid, even by, one of your own family members. So, it took a toll on me. When you've been compromised and having your innocence taken away as a child like that, you have this defense mechanism. You're in fight or flight pretty much almost all the time now.
His defense mechanism is something that Judge Artie Bland with the Kansas City Mental Health Court says begins with generational trauma for Black men and women who are worried about nothing more than survival.
When your major concern is staying alive or where you're going to eat next because your family's poor, you're homeless, it changes the perspective on whether or not you're worried about your mental health.
Growing up with a lack of resources and support, Marquan turned fighting his emotions into fighting those around him. That fighting and getting into trouble is what Judge Bland says leads a lot of Black men and women into his courtroom who, like Marquan, were taught to be tough.
There are a large number of African Americans or Black people that are having to deal with that, or that are being caught in the system and they're being arrested because generally they have nowhere to go. A community that says, suck it up, you're just weak, work a little harder. Where do you gain that strength from if you didn't even have the tools to begin with, to work with, to try to figure out how to suck it up, to figure out what questions to ask?
At just 10 years old, Marquan was adopted and raised by his older sister in Florida, but he continued struggling to trust and talk about his past, something that's common in the Black community.
Maybe only 10% of Black people are actually going to even get any kind of treatment or therapy, where it's maybe more like 18% or so with the white community.
After years of pain and silence, Marquan began to fight against the stigma of seeking help.
For me to take that wake-up moment and take that initiative and realize, like, hey, I need therapy. Like, I need to talk this out. That was like, I don't know. Like, I felt like, I was in a heavyweight fight and, I just won a title.
Finally finding himself and his passion in the kitchen.
To be honest, to be completely honest, if I didn't have cooking, I'd probably be in somebody's jail. More than likely.
Marquan uses his recipes to feed the minds of others through conversation and full stomachs.
Take it one situation at a time. You can't conquer the whole world, in just one day. It takes time. So that's like one of the biggest pieces. And then also know that, whatever you're doing, find your outlet, but make sure it is benefiting you, like, positively.
Sharing his story to help create a better future and mindset in our community.
Bon appetit.
Something Judge Bland says is key in fixing the shame around mental health in the Black community.
If you want an African American community with the future, then you've got to start with your children. They can't suck it up. They're looking for us as adults to give them direction. Cultural responsiveness will move us forward, and I think that's it. The numbers for unemployment, way too high for our community. The numbers in the foster care system, way too high. We start changing sort of the mental health piece in our community, and it's doable.
In Kansas City, Leslie Delisbour, KSHB 41 News.